Situation is he lost the test into the DNA pool he was printed by the guitars. Like, so the link to the video will be the discipline below. Go and check them out. So listen to this vaccine in 3, 2, 1.
When 30-year-old Cole Briggs found a pregnancy test in his bathroom trash can, he
Yeah, paid up. That's a baby bump. Yeah.
assumed his girlfriend had taken it. When she swore she hadn't, Cole laughed. He held up the positive test, looked straight at his girlfriend, and said, "Well, somebody in this house is pregnant, and it sure isn't me." They both laughed. It
Really?
was ridiculous. Impossible. A joke without a punchline. But 3 weeks later, sitting in a hospital room with DNA results in his trembling hands, Cole wasn't laughing anymore. Because the test hadn't been wrong. And the somebody carrying a baby in that house had been Cole the entire time. Cole Briggs and Natalie Warren had been together for 2 years. They'd met at a mutual friend's birthday party. Cole had spilled his drink on her dress, spent 20 minutes
Oh,
apologizing, and somehow ended up with her number by the end of the night. They were good together. Not perfect. They argued about small things, drove
really?
each other crazy sometimes, had
Really?
completely opposite taste in movies. But the foundation was solid. They trusted each other. They made each other laugh. Cole was a construction site manager in Denver, Colorado.
Didn't
Physical
work
work,
or what?
outdoor life, early mornings. Natalie was a high school math teacher, patient, methodical, precise in everything she did. She
Really?
balanced Cole's impulsiveness perfectly. Their friends called them the odd couple that somehow
The
worked.
odd couple?
They'd been living together
Yes.
for 8 months in a house Cole owned outside Denver. Life was comfortable, predictable,
Demo.
and happy. Until the morning Cole found the pregnancy test. Cole had been cleaning the bathroom on a Sunday morning when he emptied the trash can and found the positive pregnancy test at the bottom, wrapped loosely in tissue paper. He carried it to the kitchen where Natalie was drinking coffee and grading papers, placed it on the table without a word, and waited. She hadn't taken a pregnancy test. She'd had her period 2 weeks ago. She wasn't pregnant. They went back and forth for a while, both completely puzzled. Neither was hiding anything. Dishonesty wasn't part of their relationship. Cole picked up the test again, turned it over in his hands, and made the joke that would haunt him for weeks. He
Really?
pointed at himself dramatically and said the only other option was that he was pregnant, and they both dissolved into laughter at the absolute absurdity of the idea. They forgot about it by lunchtime. But Cole couldn't explain the test away, and he couldn't
Yeah.
explain the other things that had been bothering him for months. The nausea had started in January. Persistent morning sickness he blamed on bad coffee and early starts.
Money singing. Yep. He's pregnant. Yep. You're pregnant. Yep.
The exhaustion was worse. A bone-deep fatigue that coffee couldn't fix and sleep didn't cure. His
Yeah.
stomach had been changing too, his belly becoming noticeably rounder and harder over 4 months. He assumed he was just getting soft from too much desk work. He'd felt strange movements sometimes, flutters in his abdomen that he dismissed as gas or muscle spasms. They'd been
Yep.
happening for weeks, getting slightly stronger each time. Natalie mentioned once that he seemed softer lately, more emotional. Cole brushed it off as stress. He'd been ignoring every single sign for months. 3 weeks after finding the pregnancy test, Cole developed sharp pain in his lower abdomen that became impossible to ignore. Natalie insisted he see a doctor. Dr. Patricia Haynes listened to Cole's symptoms, ordered blood work and an abdominal ultrasound, and came back into the examination room with 2 other doctors. Cole noticed immediately. Doctors didn't bring reinforcements for hernias. Dr. Haynes performed an ultrasound herself, moving the wand slowly across his abdomen, studying the screen with intense concentration. Cole could make out shapes, something rounded, something that seemed to have internal movement. He assumed it was his intestines or some kind of abdominal growth. Then Dr. Haynes turned to him. Her voice was completely professional and calm, but her eyes gave away the fact that she was saying something she'd never said to a patient before. She told Cole there appeared to be a fetus in his abdominal cavity. Cole waited for the punchline. There wasn't one. The genetic testing took 3 days. Cole told Natalie everything. Her reaction was understandable. She didn't know whether to be terrified or convinced this was some elaborate misunderstanding.
Mhm.
She researched obsessively, landing on teratomas as a more medically plausible explanation. Cole clung to that. He was a logical, practical man. He built things with his hands. The idea that he was pregnant violated everything he understood about how the world worked. But at night he lay awake, hand resting on his stomach, feeling the movements he could no longer pretend were anything ordinary. On
Yeah.
the third day, Dr. Haynes called Cole and Natalie into her office with a geneticist, Dr. James Webb, who'd flown in specifically for the case. Cole had a rare genetic condition that had gone undetected his entire life.
Really?
His external anatomy was completely male in every standard medical definition. But internally, he had structures, dormant, minimal, but present, that had somehow activated and sustained a pregnancy. The DNA confirmed it. Genetic material from the fetal cells matched Cole as the biological carrier. Cole was approximately 22 weeks pregnant. Past halfway. Already, Cole held it together in Dr. Haynes's office. He asked logical questions, took the information
Well,
packet,
but
shook Dr.
22
Webb's
weeks.
hand, and
20,
walked to his truck with
22
Natalie
weeks.
beside
Wow.
him. Then he sat in the driver's seat and fell completely apart. Not quietly, not composedly.
Yeah.
He put his head on the steering wheel and cried in ugly, heaving sobs that shook his whole body.
Yeah.
Natalie held him and said nothing. There were no
Yeah.
words for this moment. When Cole finally raised his head, his face was wrecked and his eyes were red. He asked if she was going to leave. Natalie took his face in her hands and told him she hadn't stayed through 2 years of bad movies and spilled drinks to run away from something
Mm.
impossible. She was staying. Cole put his forehead against hers and breathed. The next 4 months were the strangest of Cole's life. His
My
coworkers found out
goodness.
eventually. Some were supportive. Men who'd worked alongside him for years and showed up with awkward but genuine kindness. Others couldn't handle it, requesting transfers to different sites.
Really?
His family was complicated. His father needed months to process. His silence a wall Cole kept running against. His
Wow.
mother drove up from Texas immediately and never left, cooking enormous meals because it was the only way she knew to show love. His
Mm.
brother called every single day with the same opening. How are you feeling today? Simple,
Oh.
consistent, unwavering. It was the most important phone call of Cole's day. Natalie became something Cole hadn't expected, not just a partner, but an anchor. She researched everything, advocated fiercely in medical settings, stood between Cole and the world when he didn't have the energy to face it himself.
Yeah.
One night, alone in what would become the baby's room, Cole sat on the floor and talked to his unborn child. He said things he hadn't said to anyone: his fears, his confusion, his love that had grown steadily despite everything surrounding it. He
Yeah.
didn't know how to navigate a world that had no template for his situation, but he
True.
knew he wanted this baby, despite the impossible circumstances, despite everything. At 34 weeks, Cole's medical team determined delivery couldn't wait. His body was struggling under the strain of an abdominal pregnancy it was never designed to sustain. Natalie drove him to the hospital. His mother was there, her expression fierce and determined. His brother flew in overnight and arrived at 6 a.m., wrinkled and completely present. His father came too, sat in the waiting room in silence, hands clasped between his knees. When Cole walked past him toward the operating room, his father stood and grabbed his arm. He pulled Cole into a hug, stiff, brief, but real. Cole walked into the operating room with that hug still on his skin. The surgery took 6 hours. Cole was awake throughout, his choice. He wanted to hear every sound, experience every moment. At 11:23 a.m., a baby girl was born. For pounds, 14 ounces. Her
Oh.
cry was surprisingly strong for her size, loud, indignant, and absolutely alive. They placed her on Cole's chest. He looked down at his daughter, her
Oh.
tiny face scrunched and red and perfect, and said her name out loud for the first time. Hazel. After the color of
That's
her eyes, which were already open and staring up at Cole with ancient, knowing focus.
that's
The laugh that had started this whole journey had delivered him here, to this
Oh.
moment. To Hazel. Cole laughed again, and this time it was gratitude so large it had nowhere else to go. Recovery was brutal. Cole spent 2 weeks in the hospital. Hazel spent 3 weeks in the NICU, gaining weight and strength with an intensity that mirrored her father's stubbornness. 3 months
Mm.
after Hazel came home, Cole proposed, not with anything elaborate. He got down on one knee in their kitchen while Hazel slept in the next room and asked Natalie to stay forever. She said yes before he finished the sentence. Cole went back to work at 5 months, Hazel in daycare near the job site. His father visited monthly, never fully articulating his feelings, but built Hazel a wooden toy chest in his garage workshop, drove 6 hours to deliver it. and sat on the floor playing with his granddaughter for 2 hours without saying much at all. Sometimes actions are enough. Cole's
Yeah.
body carried the evidence of everything it had survived, scars across his abdomen, permanent reminders of the impossible thing he'd done. He didn't
Yeah.
hide them. They were part of his story now. Today,
True.
Hazel is 20 months old. She has Cole's laugh. Big, room-filling, impossible to ignore. She has
Yeah.
Natalie's eyes and her grandfather's stubbornness and
Man.
absolutely nobody's patience. Cole found a pregnancy test in a trash can and laughed at the impossibility. Then his
Yeah.
body showed him that impossibility is just a word people use before something happens that hasn't happened yet.
True.
So
Yeah.
here's the question. If your body revealed something about itself that completely changed how you understood yourself, would you have the courage to face it? Or would
Yes.
you keep laughing and hope it went away? Cole laughed at a pregnancy test once. He won't make that mistake again.
I'll be fussy. Yeah. There was Elias at a test into the DNA proof he was pregnant by the doctors. The link to the video will be the discipline below. Go and check them out and drop a like and flag. And comment below if you want to see more reaction like this one. And subscribe if you're new. And click the post so you can be notified when I upload and when I post and go live in my bye. Wow.